Hi everyone, I want to bring you a guide for the Circle of Fortune faction in Last Epoch, which can be extremely powerful to gear up a character and get tons of loot, as you can see here. So this is my level 100 character on hardcore that I have been leveling up in the last few days, and I managed to hit level 9 in the Circle of Fortune so far, and I've used this as a tool to gear up my character really effectively. So I want to walk you through it. What are the most important milestones to hit, how you can use those different effects here. They are extremely strong in order to progress your character. And I want to just give you like some valuable tips as you progress. You see here, I managed to hit level 9. This is with a level 100 character. I barely hit level 9. And there will be quite a grind left to hit level 10. But just leveling up a character at least once, you get actually pretty far in the system. And you can use those prophecies and those lenses to really min-max your character pretty early. Now, as you can see here in the rank reward overview, there are these different milestones to hit. The biggest one out of all of these, in my opinion, is the rank 8. So this is something that you unlock relatively late, but it is the most valuable here, where it says that items that would drop as a rare have a 25% chance to become exalted. Well, exalted items are the name of the game. You want to find those, you have those, higher tier affixes on them. So this is obviously extremely powerful, especially with like large amounts of loot dropping in the game. But there is also like other really interesting stuff in there. So I want to give you some tips, especially for this rank 2 here, which says that you have a 45% chance for runes of ascendance to be preserved. So you basically get a refund when they're used on an item that requires at least Circle of Fortune rank 1. Now, what item requires Circle of Fortune rank 1 just means that it has to be an item that was either created through being in this faction, for example, from a prophecy. So when it says like here, you have this event and then it triggers and it drops 7 exalted rings. Well, those exalted rings, they will be, requirement Circle of Faction. So those are those items. Or it could also be what I just said here, for example, where a rare item upgrades to an exalted because of this rank 8 reward. So those items would also be affected and then have a Circle of Fortune requirement. But eventually this means that you have to try to like either seek out certain prophecies in order to use this, but this is really powerful in order to make and find uniques. I've actually done this on my rogue to make a Talons of Valor. So I was actually doing this with bows, and I managed to hit a legendary power 3 Talons of Valor here, and then I upgraded it to a legendary, and it turned out like incredible. So that was my weapon here, and well, I use exactly this, and as you can see here, it has this faction requirement as well, because the original bow did have this. This is especially powerful because there's also this rank 6 reward where it says that uniques are twice as likely to have legendary potential. So in fact, I actually waited until I had rank 6 unlocked in order to start spamming those prophecies. So what you can do with those prophecies is that you can kind of like target farm certain items that you need. So for example, here in this observatory, you have like this weapon telescope. And here I just selected bows and unique bows as much as possible. But as I mentioned, you're trying to also find, for example, rare or exalted bows, because first of all, you need exalted bows in order to make a legendary. So I was also using some of those prophecies here to make a good base that I can use for legendary conversion. But also I needed to find those bows that have this faction requirement, so I can use Rune of Ascendance. Another neat thing that I went for to progress my character more quickly was the rank 3 reward here, where it says whenever an idol drops, there's a 25% chance for 2 more to drop at the same time. So you get a lot of idols, basically around 50% extra. And like this, you can actually get really good idols really early. So I have, for example, here my character, I have a bunch of like double health stout idols, for example. So I have this, I have this, I have this. So I have a bunch of these here. I have other good effects like health and res. So basically I use these idols here with a combination of 2 stats, and I found most of these relatively early already. Or at the very least I found like maybe slightly less well rolled items that are now in my stash, and I replaced them over time with slightly better rolls. But ultimately, those idols, and especially those idol prophecies, to target exactly the right type of idols that you want for your build are extremely powerful. So you have the, I think this is an accessory prophecies. No, here in the Dice telescope, the idol telescope. And here you can target exactly the idols that you want to hit. So you can always see this here. It says what type of idol it is. So here it says, for example, it's a huge idol. So these are, I think, the 4x4 idols, or 2x2 idols, sorry. And you can always see here, this is large. I think these are like the 1x3 idols. So they all have like a certain, like, size basically, and they all have a certain name. So you see here, Adorned idol is like also like, one of these other types. And like this, I can target exactly those that you want. In my case, I mostly wanted like this life and maybe it resists. So I mostly use these as a filler to like, min-max my gear with the resistances. And whenever I did need resistances, I just went for double health. But there are certainly builds where you want to have like certain like larger idols because they can have a class-specific stats that are pretty impactful. So for example, one here would be like the Hammerden Smite build or so, where you want to have those 2x2 idols that give you like those smite triggers, and these are class-specific idols. But ultimately, these idols can be acquired really early. So for this, Circle of Fortune is also really impactful. And not only that, but there's also some builds that run like unique idols. There's a few of them in the game. And the thing is that unique idols actually pop up very frequently in this reroll window here. So when you reroll a few times, eventually you're going to see that you're going to find unique idols. And since there's only like a handful of them or so in the game, you can actually get those really easily. Another really important milestone to reach in the Circle of Fortune is also the rank 5 reward, the Monolith Echo reward upgrade, where you have a 35% chance to get double rewards from echoes. So you can actually use this to like much more effectively hunt down certain loot that you're trying to find. For example, you have sometimes like exalted rings or something if you're trying to gear up there. Or for example, for glyphs and runes, I found this to be very helpful because you just get tons of shards, you get tons of glyphs and whatever you might need to actually craft your items. And sometimes there's just like, boom, 50 of them dropping on the ground or something after an echo. And this also works for the tomes of experience, actually. So you can see this here right now. Usually you get like 3 of those tomes, but when this reward procs, you see here it actually drops like 6 of them. So there's 2, I have 2 here already, and there's like 1 and 2 more here or something. And you can get a lot more XP like this as well, which is actually pretty neat. So previously at the start, when you're just entering monoliths, you want to try to like push up and go to empowered as fast as possible. And then usually try to just like, max your corruption as fast as possible until you get to like your comfort zone basically. And well, afterwards you can reap the rewards basically with this Monolith Echo upgrade. So while I was rushing corruption a bit more early, afterwards I was actually looking out for some of the better rewards to get. And with this double reward, you can definitely get a lot more out of it. Now, there's obviously a few other perks in here that are also pretty impactful. In particular, the rank 1, I guess, with the just 35% chance for twice as many items. So this just gives you like a lot more loot. Then you also have other stuff like, more likely to be exalted, and also twice as likely 47 affixes. So especially here, like once you're like at 7 and 8, you can really grind out some insane loot. And I actually made my loot filter extremely strict at that point, basically just showing items that have like tier 7 mods on them, and they would actually pop up relatively regularly. So at this point you can really try to go like really crazy, either go for like double exalted drops or go for 1 tier 7 affix of something you want, and then you can actually get some really juicy items there in late game. There's also this rank 9 reward where you have like this full set drop, which is kind of bad. I'm not sure if like any build actually runs any sets. I think sets in general just kind of seem underpowered in this game. But maybe in the future that's going to be really valuable, or maybe for certain builds, I don't know. For me, this rank 9 reward was kind of whatever. But the rank 10 reward is, again, pretty interesting as well. So we have items and prophecies are duplicated. So this means that every time you use a prophecy and try to hunt down a certain thing, well, you get double the amount of stuff. And this is actually crazy. So this clip that you saw here at the start, where I had like this loot explosion, I just had a bunch of prophecies kind of like piled up randomly, and they all like triggered on the boss kill. And well, there could be double the amount of stuff coming out there. So that is really powerful, of course, but the grind from 9 to 10 in particular is really long. And now let's talk about ranking up your faction in general anyway. So we have the favor here, and basically the way this works is that as you play the game, you acquire favor, and you also slowly level up your faction, just by default, basically by defeating enemies. But also you rank up your faction faster if you spend that favor. So what I did is that, for example, maybe 1 or 2 monolith timeline completions, like, basically every 20, 30 runs or something, I would just come back to the observatory, at least when the servers are stable, and I would like spend my favor a little bit. And like this, you would actually like fast forward your progression through those ranks. So you want to make sure that you actually get rid of your favor on anything really, because it will progress your rank and you're gonna unlock these rank rewards much more quickly. In my case, I didn't do anything for a long time. I was like level 8, I think, when I finished my character, and I had like 300,000 favor or something stacked up, because I just hadn't touched prophecies for like, you know, level 95 to level 100 basically. And I went from like the start of level 8 all the way to level 9 by just spending my 300,000 favor that I had gathered, which, well, frankly is quite a lot. But you can see that it actually like really pushes you towards those next ranks. And now let's talk about the prophecies a little bit. You can have up to 48 of these prophecies at a time, and then they just trigger whenever you manage to hit the certain criteria. So how do those prophecies actually work? I got a bunch of questions about this, so I'm going to explain this real quick. So every prophecy that you can seek out always has this trifecta of an event, a condition, and a reward. So you can see this here right now. For example, here you have to defeat a Fire Lich Kermoros, which is the final boss in the Soulfire Bastion dungeon. So this is like the condition here, it just says that. And then the reward is a certain item. And that just drops together with all the other loot that the boss would otherwise drop. And it also says how many times it can be fulfilled. So it says here, you have this prophecy and it can be fulfilled 2 times at the top. So you have to trigger this event, and then the thing will be fulfilled and the stuff will just drop. So everything that you do with prophecies will just like drop, and whenever the prophecy is fulfilled. And whenever you have done your 2 prophecies, it will just phase out and it's gone automatically, and it will clear up those slots here in the prophecy table. You can also delete them. So if you look at this here, you can just, you know, get rid of them in case you have too many. Realistically, I guess this is not really a problem. In my case, I actually did have too many because I just spent 300k favor straight up, you know, just to like push to the next rank. But in most cases, if you regularly spend your favor, you will not really run into this issue, unless you just pile up a bunch of conditions that you never meet. Like, of course, you know, if you go here and you select all these dungeon prophecies, but you never run a dungeon, well, you're never going to complete them. Now, one thing to note here is that those prophecies have massively varying value. So the thing is that I think there's actually many things that are randomized here. So number one, the number of the rewards seems to be randomized to me. So you see here, for example, I get 4 unique jewelry from doing this prophecy. And then here I get like 1 exalted ring from doing this prophecy. And here I get like 3 exalted rings from doing this prophecy. But yeah, it seems to like always have like a random roll of the number of the rewards and also the cost. So you see this here. And this exalted ring prophecy, for example, is only 500 favor. So I get 1 ring for 500 if I do this condition. And here I get 3 rings for 3,750. So per ring, this is like 1,250, which is like 2.5 times the cost of this one. Now, of course, you know, the condition is very easy on this one. It's just Oribus. So whenever you get Oribus, you get this. Can be fulfilled 3 times. And this one only once. So in that case, you always have to look a little bit at, you know, how many times can you fulfill this? What is the condition? And then what do you actually get out of this? So this will be actually a fine one because it can be done 3 times. But you always want to take a bit of a look here and see what exactly you get and when can you actually do it. And then depending on which kind of loot you're actually looking for, you can choose to go for those different prophecies with your favor. So you have the idol prophecies, the accessory, there's like, you know, rings and stuff. And then you have the weapons and the armor prophecies. And you can just also go to like one of the telescopes and like move around here. So this is, for example, the weapons, this is the armor, and so on. And like this, you can actually hunt down exactly the stuff you need. So in my case, I explained how I, for example, made my bow at the start. I just went for exalted bows and unique bows as much as possible. And sometimes those prophecies also say that, for example, the items will drop with, you know, 1 legendary potential. I'm not sure if it can be more than 1 legendary potential, but at a very minimum, you can just hunt down more unique bows, and that will, for example, have a higher chance to eventually give you one that has a bit of legendary potential, like 1 or 2 or 3, like in my case. And well, it's just really effective to kind of like hunt down piece by piece of what you're actually looking for, or just like stack up a bunch of like good prophecies that you know you're going to complete, you know, automatically basically, and you just gear up much faster. Now let's talk about the lenses a little bit. So there are these different lenses here that you can use. What you need to know is the regional lenses, they can only be slotted into the right telescope. So, you know, there are, for example, Here, these Eos lenses, so these are the weapon lenses, for example. They only go into the Eastern telescope because this is where you get the weapons. And so they all have a color here as well to kind of like show you, okay, this is like, that lens. And you can kind of just like buy one of them and you can slot them in. And then there's also the greater lenses, and they can go into any of those lenses. So they are usually a bit more generic. So for example, up here it says this one have an increased chance per rank to find exalted items. So for example, I want to hunt down exalted rings because I still have like a yellow ring here right now. I could get this thing and then I could slot this into the accessory telescope, and then I can just hunt down prophecies. So what you need to know is that those lenses, they don't actually like change the loot that drops. It just changes what the lenses give you. So it doesn't, it doesn't mean that you find more exalted items now on the ground from those. This is only for the prophecies. So this is kind of a disclaimer there. Another really powerful lens, or actually two of them, are these refracting lens of Rhyme and the refracting lens of Wealth. So those are some that you unlock at level 7 and level 8 respectively, and they are completely busted actually, I would say, because they allow you to get either double the amount of prophecies, or like double the amount so you can fulfill them, or double the rewards from the prophecies. So while you have this downside that they cost more, effectively you just get more stuff. So you have 90% more cost, but you get double the reward. So there's like a net benefit basically. And likewise here we have 80% more cost and basically double the rewards. So this kind of like stacks up the power of your like prophecies a lot more. And this also means that you don't have to come back all too often to actually roll your prophecies, because it does take a lot of time. So with this more cost, you actually just come back here, once every, I don't know, 1 or 2 hours or something, roll a few prophecies and then go. And, instead of like 5 unique rings, you're going to get 10, and you're going to, do this like 8 times or something. And you can like get tons and tons of the right items that you're trying to hit. So as soon as you hit rank 7 or rank 8, you want to get those lenses and you want to throw them in there. There's also some other interesting lenses. For example, you have stuff like 100% reduced chance for prophecies that have arena events. So for example, if you know you never want to do arena, you can slot this in. But ultimately, yeah, you don't have that many slots. So at a high level, I think you always want to go for these 2 lenses here. And then maybe you block one of those event types you don't like, or you just slot in, for example, this one here where it says, exalted chance, which I believe to be just more powerful than trying to block one of the like undesired, like, arena or campaign events or something like that. So you just have to kind of deal with it, that they exist. And sometimes there's a reroll. The rerolling cost is relatively low. It's only 320 favor. So you can easily reroll a few times and try to rather get good prophecies instead of just wasting it on stuff that you may never fulfill. And here in this interface, I'm gonna move the cam. You can actually see these lenses. So you have up to 3 slots. I think the first one is always unlocked, and I think this one is at rank 5 or something. And then you have the last slot, I think, at rank 9. So it does take quite long to actually get the last slot. But yeah, ultimately, I suggest to get something that gives you more of the reward you're actually looking for, and don't necessarily use that, like block this or that event all that much unless you really hate a sort of thing and you really don't want to do it, and you don't care much about the actual rewards that you're getting. The higher chance of getting the stuff that you want, I think, far outweighs just blocking a certain event type. So I would always go for that instead. And for the late game, as I mentioned, these other 2 lenses, I think they just go in there, and you basically always put them in both slots here. So you have like, the lens of wealth, and you have the lens of what is it called now? The 2 tips blocked. But yeah, anyway, the extra cost prophecies basically. And well, then you just do a few prophecies, and you see here they do cost quite a lot now. But it also says, can be fulfilled, 2 times, can be fulfilled 2 times. You get 18 exalted rings here. So this can get pretty crazy if you stack them up a little bit. The thing is also that even though you may not necessarily run a certain dungeon that often or at all, you can just stack up a bunch of these prophecies and, for example, have like 10 prophecies that all trigger at the end of the dungeon run, and then, just go do it once, it takes like a few minutes, and boom, you get like all your rewards. So I wouldn't really just glance over all of these. Of course, I didn't really do that for like the race to level 100 when I was leveling my own character, but you know, just stacking up, like if I have like 5 or 10 prophecies all triggering at the end of the Lightless Hour dungeon, well, yeah, that would definitely entice me to go and do it, because sometimes they have relatively good value, and you know, you can just pick them up, leave them in your prophecy tab here for a while, and at some point, boom, you get a bunch of stuff. And that's also pretty much everything there is to it for what I have to share here for this video. So I hope this helps you just, you know, clear things up and learn more about how the factions work, how you want to use it. So TLDR, try to rank up your faction as fast as possible by spending your favor regularly early on, because as you spend it, you go through the ranks much quicker. You want to try to reach certain milestones, so depending on how much you play and how far you are progressed, some of them are really valuable. So especially like, you know, rank 4, I would say rank 2 together with rank 6 is like a huge combo. And then also here the rank 8 in particular. So if you can push to that one, I think rank 8 is the craziest of all of these here. So try to get those. For the Lancers, as I mentioned, always go for whatever you're trying to hunt down, not so much blocking certain things. I think they're just not really that valuable. And then once you're higher rank, you can get those, there's more cost Lancers, and I would always slot those in. So that sums up pretty much everything I can share here. Hope this helps, and I wish you good luck with your character in Last Epoch. See you guys next time.